Дорогие соотечественники, сограждане, в силу сложившейся ситуации с образованием Содружества независимых государств я прекращаю свою деятельность на посту президента СССР.
Another reason for the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia is economic interests that are important as political motives. During the former Soviet Union, Nagorno-Karabakh ranked fourth among Azerbaijan's economic regions for the composition and development of industrial enterprises. The economic significance of Nagorno-Karabakh for Azerbaijan that gained new independence was great for natural resources, infrastructure, and geography. If we express Nagorno-Karabakh's benefits for that period in figures, only the occupied regions provided 14.3% of agricultural grain, 31.5% of grapes, 14.5% of meat, 70.1% of milk, 19.3% of wool, and 17% of cocoons for Azerbaijan. Shortly after the conflict and the occupation process, Armenia started to analyze the potential of Azerbaijan lands along with foreign support. They formed the economic map of our country and so began to pursue an illegal investment policy.
We can classify Armenia's illegal activities in certain categories and certain types. First, Armenia illegally exploits natural resources of Azerbaijan in the occupied territories. And exploitation of the natural resources of Azerbaijan in itself contributes to the prolongation of the conflict. Because in the early days of the conflict, Armenian warlords, which became the presidents and prime ministers of Armenia, like Robert Kocharian and Serge Sargsyan and some others, gained a lot of money, or obtained a lot of money as a result of his illegal activities, especially in the mining industry. Gold, copper, silver, some other mines of Azerbaijan are extensively exploited by Armenia. And the second sphere is in agriculture. Occupied territories of Azerbaijan is an abandoned is a land that's full of opportunities for agricultural production, and illegal agricultural activities are also conducted to sustain the illegal regime that's established in the occupied territories. And as the next sphere is a change to the infrastructure of Azerbaijan. And we see that first Armenian side as an occupied power destroyed all infrastructure, housing, including the private and state properties of Azerbaijan. And then as a continuation of this process, they're conducting illegal infrastructure activities.
Economic processes in Nagorno-Karabakh are officially conducted not under the name of Armenia, but through a so-called regime. The so-called Nagorno-Karabakh Republic regime is taking the conflict to different directions through the use of resources and immigration. Thus, the international legal acts accepted by the Geneva Conference are violated by demographic change. The policy of resettlement to Nagorno-Karabakh from Syria and Lebanon, as well as from Armenia, under the name of a local resident continues. In particular, another reason for resettlement to Khankendi is to create cheap labor for international companies.
I think the primary major power brokers in the Nagorno-Karabakh are France, Russia, Lebanon, and Iran, particularly because there's a lot of Armenian minorities there that are assuming some important positions. This is probably the reason that they want to operate in this region. And the futuristic goal here is to push out Azerbaijani minorities from the region and establish their own base in the coming months and years to make for themselves a front where they can use as a sovereign part of their country.
Before 1830, the Armenian population was around about 10% of Karabakh, but it grew to around 35% by the 1830s and around 55% actually by the turn of the century, between the 19th and 20th century. So essentially, I think one Russian historian estimated that of the 1.3 million Armenians that were in the area around Yerevan, Karabakh, etc., in 1900, only 300,000 had been original inhabitants. The rest had been essentially been resettled by Russia and concentrated to form a type of buffer against who they thought were hostile powers to the south and to the west, Turkey and Iran.
With the separatist regime, Armenia has prepared a plan of special proposal for foreign companies in the occupied territories of Azerbaijan through violating international laws. These plans are considered suitable for economic operations in the occupied rich territories of Azerbaijan. As a result, these corporations become shareholders in the damage caused to Azerbaijan. These types of cases are specially registered by Azerbaijan.
Qarabağ Telekom.
French companies have established telecommunications and communications of Nagorno-Karabakh. This is mainly assessed as the strength of the Armenian lobby and areas that are managed by Armenian businessmen.
Nagorno-Karabakh Armenians, they try to become sister cities with certain cities in France. They tried to do that, and in certain cases, a few years ago, they succeeded in that. But later, when the French court started case on these issues, it was clear that none of the French cities had right to do such activity. They had no right to establish contacts with the cities in Nagorno-Karabakh. If there is no authorization from Azerbaijan authorities, there is no other public agency or government representative can have any contact with the entities in Nagorno-Karabakh. If they want certain activity, they want to have their business established in Nagorno-Karabakh, they have to understand that this territory is under Azerbaijani jurisdiction and they have to deal with the Azerbaijan authorities first.
According to the Who-Else Profits 2017 report, Orange, which is the fourth largest company in Europe, opened an official branch in Armenia in 2017. However, the company's connection to Armenia and the occupied Azerbaijan lands dates back to about 2007. After the official branch was sold to UCOM, the French company raised millions of donations for Nagorno-Karabakh. In the end, this amount was transferred to the budget of the so-called regime. This fact is also included in the budget documents of the regime that was created by Armenia under the name of Artıq. Orange's activities in Nagorno-Karabakh are linked to an agreement with Qarabağ Telecom. Under the terms of the agreement, the company provides illegal roaming services in the occupied Azerbaijani territory. In addition, the French company has set special discount packages for people who travel to Qarabağ and the soldiers there. Orange, a telecommunications company with approximately 100,000 employees worldwide, made voluntary money transfer to the Al Armenian Foundation directly and through the Fountain Company. The collected donations were spent to the construction of new settlements in Nagorno-Karabakh.
There are this region in particular, the Nagorno-Karabakh region and the 7 districts, especially are rich in mineral deposits. There's zinc there, fire-resistant clay, and so many minerals that I can't begin to list. And when we think of Qarabağ, the first company that comes to mind is the Orange company that is providing services to the Qarabağ Telecom, which is an interesting case actually because the company owner is in France And France is internationally trying to also push their agenda in the occupied territory, which they shouldn't be. There are multiple companies operating in the Nagorno-Karabakh region that are not specifically reporting to Azerbaijan authorities. And even so, there has been so many missing cases of taxes, or maybe I should say tax evasion, because what they're doing is reporting something that hasn't any foundation or basis. So they can't be doing that in an internationally recognized area that officially belongs to Azerbaijan, based on the UN resolutions.
The aim of Armenia is to plunder natural resources under the name of the so-called regime and to politically involve foreign companies in the Karabakh issue. Therefore, they attract international companies to the occupied Azerbaijani lands. It should be noted that European and US companies are not allowed to operate in similar conflict areas like OBX Asia.
With issue with the EU countries, but there is a special sanctions regime with regard to other occupied territories in post-Soviet space. It should be like Abkhazia, South Ossetia, Transnistria, and some other places. But unfortunately, when it comes to Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict context, there is no special sanction regime by the European Union, and also sanction regime with regard to the individuals who are coming from the occupied territories of Azerbaijan. It also causes for the concern and the disappointment of Azerbaijan that representatives of so-called illegal regime in the occupied territories of Azerbaijan are visiting EU countries, and they're also obtaining EU visas, Schengen visas for making such visit. And in our registry, we also have EU companies that are also illegally operating in the occupied territories. In the meantime, we see that falsifying the labels of the productions that they produced in the occupied territories of Azerbaijan are ending up in some EU countries' markets. But also yet another concern. We are raising this issue with the European Union. According to the latest information that European Union's trade institutions made a warning to EU companies that their further actions in the occupied territories of Azerbaijan.
There is obviously a 2016 Human Rights Council resolution, I think it's 3136, that prohibits economic activity in relation to illegal settlements. So I think the UN decided to construct databases of companies that were illegally operating in occupied territories. And I presume that this is the main mechanism in international law against these types of activities.
Currently, one of the companies in the looting of Karabakh is Aerobus, which is the largest copper producer in Europe. With its 15 billion turnovers, Airbus is the biggest taxpayer in the so-called Nagorno-Karabakh Republic. The company, which is headquartered in Germany, has been operating in Karabakh for more than 20 years. The company, which is headquartered in Germany, has been operating in Karabakh for more than 20 years. On the other hand, the company has hired 1,200 people in this district.
The question, if Nagorno-Karabakh is an ancient Armenian territory, why does not it have the ancient Armenian name for the capital? Because the ancient name for the capital is Khan-Kandi, the village of the Khan. And the Stepanakert, because Shaumian's name was Stepan, Kert means city, that's right, in Armenian. Stepanakert was named in the name of that Bolshevik. So that once again proves that there was no Armenian historical legacy on those territories. And coming back to from where I began, this historical issue is important for understanding how the conflict should be resolved.
The plundering of the occupied lands and the sale of their wealth abroad brings more income to Armenia. For example, Qarabağ QHT, founded by Sevak Khachaturian, has sold $1 billion worth of historical artifacts and carpets in recent years.
There is infringement of the intellectual property rights, namely the carpets that made based on the techniques and the ornaments of the Qarabağ school of carpet weaving. We see that Armenian side is trying to present carpet making as if their own heritage. It of course deserves I would say irony, as we all know that this carpet making always was a part of our cultural heritage and traditions. But we understand that Armenia is pursuing its policy of misappropriation of heritage of the neighboring countries, and including Azerbaijan and Turkey, and this carpet making is one of them. And we always face this issue in UNESCO when we have observed the attempts to present the certain elements of our heritage and traditions as it is Armenian one. We made this possible to promote the carpet making and carpet weaving traditions on international level.
You know, Armenia has always tried to be a sort of homogeneous society. I actually recently started thinking that Armenia reminds me a little bit of a tribal nation. It hasn't actually tried to incorporate different cultures, different pursuits, different peoples within its nation. It's tried to be very exclusive and homogeneous. And I think, you know, your question about the carpets is exactly like this. Armenians don't seem to be able to understand that, you know, human civilizations, human cultures are actually many things. You know, Armenia is not the best people and place in the world, and has not contributed more to civilization and Christianity than any other people. And their exaggerated historical claims and claims towards culture are, you know, frankly laughable. And people in the West would see it like this. I think that they're being very foolish going along the way that they go, because the West, for instance, is very much dedicated to diversity and recognizing, you know, heterogeneous populations and minorities. And the Armenians seem to be completely out of spirit with this type of modern understanding of life and culture. So I think that this is the big problem that the Armenians have, and it leads them into the type of aggressive belligerence and monopoly sort of history that they cultivate. And it's certainly not good for them, and it's not good for their neighbors in the region.
Russian companies have participated in infrastructure projects related to Nagorno-Karabakh. According to an investigation by the magazine Secret Company, the construction of roads and airports in this district was carried out by Russia.
Russia has had a treaty with Armenia. They are both parts of the CSTO, and also there's a large Russian military base, Air Force base at Gyumri, and I think there's a lease there that goes to about 2044, and tied to this is a large amount of loans. I think something a region about $200 million per year to Armenia. So this region is really a very important place for Russia.
The Russian Radar Meteorology Institute has fulfilled a number of works on meteorological support technologies in countries such as Azerbaijan, Belarus, Kazakhstan, and Ukraine. Despite the fact that the institute wants to hide its work, the company's installation of a new support system in Nagorno-Karabakh is published in a separate article on the website of the so-called ARSATs. IRAM has established a QARAMS for automated air station at Khojaly Airport. The airport is located in the internationally recognized borders of Azerbaijan. At the same time, due to the fact that the world doesn't recognize the so-called Nagorno-Karabakh regime, the airport doesn't have any code in the official IATA list. According to the allegations, Armenia carries out smuggling and other criminal activities with helicopters from this airport over Iran and Syria. There was also news in the press about the operation of the airport by helicopters and the transportation of some products from Iran and Syria. The airport and the Russian company that helped build it were condemned by the Council of Europe's Parliamentary Assembly in 2011. Thus, the declaration was adopted about this issue.
The airport built in Nagorno-Karabakh, and actually that's quite a good initiative to boost the regional economy. But unfortunately, again, this initiative is designed to support the status quo, so not the peace. But right now, the status quo is equal to the destabilized situation in the region. So it means that the airport functioning there with no consent from Azerbaijan authorities and with no consent from Azerbaijanis of Nagorno-Karabakh means that that works for destabilization of the situation. The airport should work for the favor of both Nagorno-Karabakh Armenians and Azerbaijanis. Again, if you ignore one party, if you ignore that the interests of Nagorno-Karabakh Azerbaijanis, it will not lead to the sustainable peace. So that's why this is another dangerous initiative. If you support the destabilized situation by building certain economic entities, airports, you are supporting the destabilized situation. Taking interests of Nagorno-Karabakh Azerbaijan into account, there is no possibility that this airport can function. So this is the quite important point in this regard. Azerbaijan showed that it can block all economic incentives that is not in favor of the Nagorno-Karabakh Azerbaijanis and not in the favor of the sustainable peace in the region.
Armenians that live abroad and lobbying businesses which support them are forced to commit fraud. The aim is to ensure illegal economic activity in Azerbaijan. As evidence of this, the Swedish company Frank Muller Group is the best example. Vartan Sirmakes, who was born in 1956 to an Armenian jeweler family, invests almost all his wealth in Nagorno-Karabakh. He is mainly engaged in various types of business, such as luxury watches and fishing. He also deceived his partner Frank Muller, who created a watch brand used by people like Elton John, 50 Cent, Demi Moore, Jose Mourinho. Sirmakes was engaged in business in a conflict zone like Nagorno-Karabakh, and he hid it from his partner. As a result, Frank Muller sued Sirmakes, but Sirmakes avoided punishment by pretending to the court that his partner was a drug addict. At the same time, Sirmakes exploits Azerbaijan's natural resources in Nagorno-Karabakh, such as gold mines and trees for production of luxury watches.
Law enforcement agencies and prosecutor office of Azerbaijan opened a criminal file against Vartan Sirmakes. He is a person with a criminal background who conducts illegal activities in the occupied territories of Azerbaijan. Especially, he has been engaged in the exploitation of the gold, copper, silver, some other mines of Azerbaijan, especially in Kalbajar, Zangilan, occupied regions of Azerbaijan. And he also, through the back channels, via the money laundering mechanisms, takes with money to the bank systems of some European countries. That's also yet another concern that we have seriously delivered to the attention of some European countries, including the countries from where he comes and he has a citizenship of that particular country. We also ask for the legal assistance by this particular country that his illegal activities should be further investigated. And he is also owner of the company that produces luxury watches, Frank Muller company. We always call it as a company that produces blood watches. And it should be, and such products as the international market should be banned because he uses gold and some other precious materials that illegally exploited from the occupied territories of Azerbaijan for the production of these watches. But unfortunately, this production happens in the European countries. As there is a criminal case against him, and we will continue this criminal case, and we'll also continue to use legal mechanisms existing in Switzerland, and he's coming actually from the Switzerland and some other European countries against this person.
Azerbaijan has applied to Interpol about Vartan Sirmakes, the reason being that Sirmakes is expanding his investment portfolio combining caviar and gold mining in Nagorno-Karabakh. However, the violation of international law didn't prevent the illegal actions of the Armenian businessman. Sirmakes has allocated $150 million for the capital of Armenia and $10 million for Shika district. As his main source of income is Nagorno-Karabakh, he has established Artık Bank there. Sirmakes is the main shareholder of AMS West Bank in Armenia as the owner of the bank's 80% shares. Armenia received financial aid from Iran and the USA in 2016 through these banks. In addition, Russia illegally exported Karabakh products via Iran and Serbia. Then the income was transferred to Artık Bank. According to the investigation of Russia's secret company magazine, the production of agricultural products increased in Nagorno-Karabakh. The total value of agricultural products in the occupied lands is currently $120 million. German and Czech companies invested $200 million in this direction. Ready products are exported abroad under the name of Made in Artsakh through Iran and Russia. The number of hydroelectric power plants is also increasing as a result of the illegal functioning of international law and economic policy. It is funded by Armenian and British companies. In the last 14 years, 14 small hydropower plants have been built in the occupied territories of Azerbaijan. For example, Tirgi 1, Tirgi 2, Tirgi 3, Saynik 1, Saynik 2, Saynik 3, Maragiz 1, Maragiz 2 hydropower plants. The largest of this station is the Sarsang station built on the Terter River. The investment of the station is M Energy that operates illegally in Zengezur. Most of the electricity produced here is transmitted to Armenia. Armenian Valery Melumyan have established an ore refining company called Base Metals and another gold mining company on different dates. The annual income of these companies is more than $20 million. Financing through British companies in Nagorno-Karabakh is not accidental. The British company, which provides economic consulting services, is also engaged in research and activities in the occupied territories of Azerbaijan. Following Grant Thornton's activities closely, Azerbaijan warned Grant Thornton International Company in 2017 about not being allowed to operate in the occupied territories of Azerbaijan. According to an official statement, the Azerbaijani Ministry of Economy is investigating the illegal activities of Grant Thornton Armenia, which is a subsidiary of Grant Thornton in the occupied territories of Azerbaijan. As a result of the research, it was revealed that Grant Thornton Armenia implemented the projects of the Armenian Hayastan Foundation in the occupied Azerbaijani territories in 2015. Regarding this matter, the representative of Grant Thornton International Ltd in Azerbaijan was summoned to Azerbaijan Minister of Economy. A letter was then sent to the company's Grand Toronto, Armenia headquarters. In the letter, the organization stated that illegal activities in the occupied Azerbaijani territory are unacceptable. At the same time, Grand Toronto International Ltd stated the strong reaction of the Azerbaijan side to the issue in the letter. The head office also remarked that member companies will be removed from the network if they do not comply with the conditions. It should be noted that Grand Toronto Armenia CJSC and KPMG Armenia CJSC, affiliated with KPMG International of Switzerland, provide the activities of Arsak Bank, which ensures banking services in the occupied Nagorno-Karabakh.
If I can shift gears back a little without touching upon the political side of things, I just want to say that the international community should do everything based on the UN resolution by the Security Council, which is an adopted resolution in 1994. Now there's 4 of them, and without regard to any of these resolutions, it is very interesting how companies can operate at their own will in a part of land where it belongs to the Azerbaijan and not Armenia. And these companies try to take advantage of whether you would call it tax evasion or easy operation of their own companies. This is primarily easy pocket job for them to operate, especially gold mining and gold extraction, like I said previously, is an easy job for these companies to extract those minerals and exploit them.
The economy of Karabakh will obviously be transformed by such a development. If you think of really the main things that Karabakh has economically, there is its mineral resources, its copper, its gold and other ores, its water reservoirs and supply. So these things would obviously be a great boon if there was a peaceful resolution, because there would be, for instance, cheaper water supply, hydroelectric plants that could be integrated. You need political stability for economic investment. So I would think that Karabakh would become quite a reasonably prosperous area in the future.
Armenia makes a lot of money from tourism through the branches of its own companies in the favorable geography Nagorno-Karabakh. Nagorno-Karabakh is experiencing some illegal cases like demographic change, the use of air transport and resource transfer to foreign business owners. In conclusion, there are already businesses that belong to Russia, the United States, India, Sweden, Lebanon, Britain, Germany and France in these occupied territories. This fact can be used in the negotiations on the conflict over Armenians' claim to autonomy. Most importantly, the conduct of illegal activities in Nagorno-Karabakh never will justify the fact that these lands belong to Armenia.
Карабах всем миром, равнинный, Нагорный, признан как неотъемлемая часть Азербайджана. Армения сама не признает это незаконное образование. Карабах является исторической, исконной азербайджанской землей. Так что Карабах – это Азербайджан и восклицательный знак.